Evercore ISI analyst Uma Rafat, who covers Merck and joined us last month to discuss the pharma giant's COVID pill trial and potential impact on the stock.
Investor focus has by and far been on Lilly, which is a growth stock. It makes a lot of sense as a growth stock for a lot of investors. But Merck has been one of those which has been left over because of this big Keytruda cliff and no real clarity on what's the next big growth driver. I think this upcoming oral COVID data could start to turn the page on, wow, there's a lot more coming on the pipeline side. So I like Merck. I realize it's not a growth stock, but I think it starts to turn a page on fresh pipeline catalysts and event flow.
Uma joins us again now with reaction to the news. Good call back then. And are you as optimistic about this data as everyone else seems to be today? I guess reducing the prevalence of hospitalization or death by 50% is impressive, but it's not 100%, which I guess is sometimes what we think of the vaccination's efficacy rates.
Sure, but again, keep in mind when we mention 95% plus vaccine efficacy on hospitalizations, that's as a preventative measure, whereas the Merck trial was as a treatment. Once you have COVID, your odds of getting hospitalized. So it's very different, the treatment versus prevention setting. But I will say this to your question. Now that we're seeing that taking an antiviral cuts your viral load, possibly even helps shrink the duration of your COVID episode, and perhaps 50% fewer odds of getting hospitalized. The next question is, so we know it works as a treatment. Could it work as a prevention as well? Well, there's important trials ongoing which will come out in the first half of next year, which will be really interesting as we think about, I just met someone who has COVID. What are my odds of catching COVID if I pop in this pill for 3 or 4 days?
What are we expecting in terms of the pricing of this product and whether or not it's going to be a huge profit driver for Merck?
So look, pricing's already out there, actually. So the U.S. government contracted with Merck for 1.7 million courses for $1.2 billion, so $700 per course. That's the price point out there. And I mean, look, the sales estimate for next year is basically your estimate on how many COVID infections will happen times a certain percentage that for the penetration times $700 price point. So you can imagine a multi-billion dollar sales potential for this drug.
Does it change the prospects for Merck as a stock? 10% is a big move up. What happens from here?
I mean, look, there's two layers to that, right? One is just the broader market and what's happening right now. And the moment any of these drug companies becomes a COVID trade of sorts, you see unusual moves, and that's there. But I think from Merck perspective more particularly, for a while now, the focus has been Keytruda. Keytruda is going to go away for them. It's 40% of their sales. What's going to happen beyond? And there was a real pipeline beyond. And what we're starting to see now are glimpses of that. For example, there's a real chance this pill that we're reviewing today is at least $1 worth of EPS to Merck, and Merck does about 6+ right now. In addition, Merck did a deal this past week, which could add another $1 in EPS for Merck's EPS. So you're starting to see things which could add a lot more support to Merck's growth potential beyond just their Keytruda franchise.
Do you think it's fair to see some of the more vaccine-linked stocks sell off as much as they have today? I mean, I get all the arguments that with flu, you've got both treatments plus vaccines, and you still take the vaccine. But this is slightly different, and there's a large weight of people out there that might see this as an excuse never to get the vaccine in the first place.
Yeah, I hear you. Although I think the move in those stocks is less about vaccine hesitancy among folks that haven't been vaccinated, but more so about how often will people take their boosters. I think, is this oral antiviral an important addition to the armamentarium? Absolutely. Does it make the need for boosters go away? I don't think so.